Hey kids, for today we will discuss sum, difference, co-function, and double measure identities. So let's start with a quick recall. First one is your reciprocal identities. So take note that the sine and cosecant functions are reciprocals of each other, cosine and secant are reciprocals of each other, and lastly, tangent and cotangent are reciprocals of each other. Then next, we have the ratio identities. So from the word itself, we can express some of your trigonometric functions as ratios of sine and cosine. In this case, tangent x equals sine x over cosine x, and cotangent x is cosine x over sine x. Then last one is the Pythagorean identities. First one is your cosine squared x plus sine squared x equals 1. Then the second one here is if you divide this one by sine squared x, you get cotangent squared x plus 1 equals cosecant squared x. And the last identity here is obtained when you divide this one by cosine squared x. So we get 1 plus tangent squared x equals secant squared x. This time, we will introduce another set of identities. First one is your sum and difference identities. So when we say sum and difference identities, what we are looking at here are the sine, cosine, and tangent of the sum or difference of two angles. So first one, you have sine of x plus minus y equals sine x times cos y. And as for the sign here, we will just retain whatever sign we get here. Then for the second term, you have cosine x times sine y. So basically, my mnemonic here is sin, cos, cosine. And for the sine function, you just copy the sign of whatever's inside. For cosine, however, it's a little bit different. So the cosine of x plus minus y equals, so for the first term, you have cosine x times cosine y. Then, you will negate the sign inside. So for example, if you have plus here, you change it to a minus. Then for the second term, you have sine x sine y. So basically, this one is just sin, sin. So para lang kayo naglalaba for these two. The first one, sin cos cosine, retain the sign. And for the second one, it's cos sin sin. You just negate the sign. Then for the third one, you have your tangent. So for tangent of x plus minus y, in the numerator, you have tangent x and tangent y as your two terms, and in the middle of them, you just copy the sign of whatever's inside. Then for the denominator, you have 1. Then here, you negate the sign. So once again, if you have a plus here, you do minus. But if you have minus inside, you do plus. So you have 1 minus plus tangent x times tangent y. So for you to easily remember the one in the numerator, you add or subtract tangent x or tangent y according to the sign inside. But for the denominator, you multiply tangent x and tangent y, tapos may 1 ka dito. And in the middle of them, you just negate the sign. The next set of identities are what we call double angle identities. This one naman, this is basically just your sum and difference identities. But for the inside, you just take x plus x. So first one, you have sine 2x equals 2 times sine x cosine x. For the second one, you have cosine of 2x equals cosine squared x minus sine squared x, which you can rewrite into these two forms here. So how did we get them? For the first one, take note that sine squared x equals 1 minus cosine squared x. This one is from your Pythagorean identities. So we can write this as cosine squared x minus 1 minus cosine squared x, which would then give you 2 times cosine squared x minus 1. So that's why you have this equality right here. And for the second one, it's just the same thing, but this time what you'll change is the cosine. So by taking note that cosine squared x equals 1 minus sine squared x, we get here 1 minus sine squared x minus sine squared x, you get 1 minus 2 sine squared x. So these three here are equivalent formulations of your cosine 2x. Then for the third one, your tangent of 2x, that's just 2 tangent x all over 1 minus tangent squared x. And finally, the last set of identities that we will discuss here is your cofunction identities. So basically, what's a cofunction? Maybe I can put it here. Trigonometric functions f and g are cofunctions of each other. Cofunctions of each other if f of r equals g of s whenever r plus s equals pi over 2. So basically, ano yung sinasabi ni cofunction identities? If you have two angles such that their sum is pi over 2, then f and g are cofunctions of each other whenever f of r is the same as g of s. For your trigonometric functions, the cofunctions are the following. First is sine and cosine. So sine of x equals cosine of pi over 2 minus x. And consequently, it's also true that sine of pi over 2 minus x equals cosine x. So these two are just equivalent. Bakit? That's because sine of pi over 2 minus x equals, using this one right here, you have cosine of pi over 2 minus the angle inside the sine. So you have pi over 2 minus x, and simplifying this one inside, that's just cosine x. So that's your first pair of cofunctions. Second one is tangent and cotangent. So these two are cofunctions of each other. And lastly, you have secant and cosecant. So basically, you just think of them as yung magka-partner. So ang magka-partner ay si sine and cosine, tangent and cotangent, tapos secant and cosecant. Okay? So let's proceed to our examples. First one, let's prove the following. I'll remove the number here. Okay, number one, let's prove that sine squared of alpha minus sine squared of beta equals sine of alpha plus beta times sine of alpha minus beta. So if you will recall from our past discussions, you can start from either side. So you can start here or you can start here. And usually, what you choose is the one that looks a bit more complicated. In this case, I would like to start here since we have a lot of things that we can do. As you can see, you have a sine of the sum of two angles here and the sine of the difference of two angles here. So mas marami tayong magagamit na identities. So let's start with the right side and finally show that this one is just equivalent as the one that we started with. So we have here sine of alpha plus beta times sine of alpha minus beta. So by theorem 1.4, so we will use here the sum and difference identity for sine. So first, for the sum, we have sine of alpha times cosine of beta, and since this is the sine function, we will just copy the sine here. So plus cosine, sin cos cosine. Okay, correct so far. And for the second one, it's the same, but gagawin lang nating minus this one. So you have sin cos sin. Okay, so what we just did here in our first step is use the sum and difference identity for sine. Then what do we observe here in the given expression right now? You have the same thing here, no? It's the same, sine alpha times cosine beta. And for the second term, it's also the same, cosine alpha sine beta, cosine alpha sine beta. However, they have different signs. Here you have plus, here you have minus. So if I let this to be x and this one to be y, we have x plus y times x minus y, which as we know is just x squared minus y squared. So here we'll get sine alpha times cosine beta squared minus cosine alpha sine beta squared. So what we just did here is x squared minus y squared equals x minus y times x plus y. Okay, let's take a look at the expressions that we have. So as you can see, you have a product of two expressions here and they're squared, so we can distribute the exponent. We can write this as sine squared alpha cosine squared beta, and same thing for the other side, we can write it as cosine squared alpha sine squared beta. And if we will look closely, what we want is to get this one right here, sine squared alpha minus sine squared beta. And right now you have sine squared alpha here and sine squared beta right here. So since we already have a sine squared alpha and the sine squared beta, we do not really want to touch these anymore. Instead, what we want to do is figure out what else can we do with these two. Ano kaya yung pwede nating gawin sa kanila? And maybe this is what we can do. Let's try and write this one as 1 minus sine squared alpha. So let's try to write this one as 1 minus sine squared alpha. So what we just did here is use the Pythagorean identity. Cosine squared alpha equals 1. Then further simplifying stuff, we have sine squared alpha cosine squared beta. And this one right here, sine squared beta, can be distributed inside. So we'll get here minus the quantity sine squared beta minus sine squared alpha sine squared beta. Then now, we can distribute the negative sign here to get sine squared alpha cosine squared beta minus sine squared beta. Then you have here negative times a negative, so that will be a positive. So plus sine squared alpha sine squared beta. And what do we notice here? What we notice right here is that these two terms have a common factor, which is sine squared alpha. So maybe we can combine these two and write it as sine squared alpha times, so what's left in the first term is cosine squared beta, and for this second term what's left is a plus sine squared beta. So you have here plus sine squared beta, then minus sine squared beta. And doesn't this look quite familiar to you? This one right here is just the same as this one. So this term right here is just equal to 1. And so we have sine squared alpha minus sine squared beta, which is exactly what we want to show right here. Okay? As an exercise, as you can see, the crucial step here is this one, since we had two things that we can do. We can either play with this one or play with this one right here. But what we did is that we played with this one. So as an exercise, I'll call this star. As an exercise, try to check what happens if I play with cosine squared beta in star. Are we still going to obtain the same result, or will we obtain some different identities? And furthermore, you can also continue the proof by exploiting this identity right here to show that sine of alpha plus beta times sine of alpha minus beta is also cosine squared beta minus cosine squared alpha. So try to check this one first, and you can also try and continue the proof to get this one instead. Okay? So let's proceed to our next example. For number 2, let's try and show that sine of pi over 2 minus x equals sine of pi over 2 plus x. As you can see right here, they're quite similar to each other. This one has pi over 2 minus x inside, and this one has pi over 2 plus x inside. This one right here, we already know this one. it's just cosine x. But this one right here is something that we are not yet really familiar with. So what can we do here? Obviously, this one is quite useless since we're already familiar with it. It's just cosine x. So maybe let's play with the right side. Let's try and use sine of pi over 2 plus x. And observe that for sine of pi over 2 plus x, we can write it in this manner. Pi over 2 minus x plus 2x. Why do we want to write this one in this manner? That's because the one at the right side has pi over 2 minus x. So ngayon pa lang, as early as the first step, it's good kung meron na tayo nito. So let's put here sine of pi over 2 minus x plus 2x. And what do we see right here? What we see is sine of the sum of two angles. You have pi over 2 minus x tapos 2x right here. So we can use the sum identity for sine. Sum identity for sine. We get here sin. So sine of pi over 2 minus x sin cos. Then since you have a plus here, we will put a plus here. Sin cos pi over 2 minus x times sine of 2x. Okay? Right now, we already have sine of pi over 2 minus x. So obviously, we don't want to do anything with this anymore. Instead, we'll try and play with these three expressions right here. For cosine of 2x, it's a little bit difficult since you have three forms. Cosine squared x minus sine squared x, this one, and this one. So, as a tip, tip, touch cosine 2x at the last part of your computation. Since once you're close to the end of your computation, you'll already have an idea on what form of cosine 2x you want to use. Instead, we'll play with the other two terms right here since they only have one form. So first, let me rewrite this. Okay. First is cosine of pi over 2 minus x. So this one is just your cofunction identity. So take note that sine and cosine are cofunctions of each other. So cosine of pi over 2 minus x can be written as sine of x. The next, sine over 2x, sine of 2x rather, is just 2 times sine x cosine x. So we have right here 2 times sine x cosine x. So what we just use here are the cofunction, and double angle. Then simplifying stuff, we have sine of pi over 2 minus x times cosine 2x plus, so multiplying this, we get 2 sine squared x cosine x. So what we just did, we just multiplied sine x with this one. And since wala namang sum here, you're just multiplying sine x with sine x. So you have sine squared x, then just copy 2 cosine x. Okay? Then what else can we do? Take note, sine of pi over 2 minus x equals cosine of x. So yung cosine x here can be written as sine of pi over 2 minus x. So you have sine of pi over 2 minus x times cosine 2x plus cosine x can be written as sine of pi over 2 minus x times what will remain with you is this one, 2 times sine squared x. So times 2 sine squared x. So what we just did here is use your cofunction. Why did we do that? We did that since on the first term, you have sine of pi over 2 minus x. So what we just did, we kinda forced the two terms to have a common factor, which is sine of pi over 2 minus x. So we can factor that one out. We have sine of pi over 2 minus x multiplied by, in the first term, what's left is cosine of 2x. So you have cosine of 2x. Then for the second term, what's left is 2 times sine squared x. So plus 2 times sine squared x. And we're almost done. Observe, you already have sine of pi over 2 minus x here. So if these two are equal, we should be able to show that this one is just equal to 1. So how do we do that? Take note, you have 2 sine squared x here. And for cosine 2x, we have the third form right here, which has a negative 2 sine squared x. So we can use the third form of your cosine 2x to write this one as sine of pi over 2 minus x times, you have 1 minus 2 sine squared x plus 2 sine squared x. So we just use here the double angle. And finally, simplifying the one inside, these two cancels out. You just have 1. So we have here sine of pi over 2 minus x. So as you can see here, it really is quite helpful to touch cosine 2x at the last part of the proof, since the fact that it has 3 forms is quite problematic. If you will convert this at the very start of your computation, it's possible for you to use a not so good form of cosine 2x. Whereas in this part, since we use it at the very last, we were able to easily identify which form of cosine 2x we will use, which is this form, so that we can get rid of this term right here. Okay? So that's for number 2. Let's have the last example for proving. Let's show that sine of 3 alpha over sine of alpha minus cosine of 3 alpha over cosine of alpha equals 2. So obviously this is quite complicated, and we will show that this entire thing is just equal to 2. So obviously it's hard to play with the number 2. So instead, we will start with the left side. So we'll start with sine of 3 alpha over sine alpha minus cosine of 3 alpha over cosine of alpha. Unfortunately, we don't have yet the identities for sine of 3 alpha and cosine of 3 alpha. However, what we know is that 3 alpha can be written as 2 alpha plus alpha. And luckily, we have the double angle identities for sine and cosine. So what we'll do is write the numerators as sine of 2 alpha plus alpha over sine alpha minus cosine of 2 alpha plus alpha over cosine of alpha. Then here, using the sum identities for sine and cosine, we get first, so that's just sine of 2 alpha, cosine of alpha, sin, cos, then you have a plus here, so we will use a plus cosine of the first angle times sine of the second angle, then all over sine alpha minus, for cosine, that's just cos, then since this is plus, we will use minus for cosine, so cos, sin, sine 2 alpha, sine alpha, and in the denominator you have cosine of alpha. Okay, what else can we do right now? Obviously, it's quite hard to use cosine of 2 alpha right now since we're nowhere near our conclusion. So just like our trick before, do not use cosine 2 alpha until the very end of your computation. So as long as there are stuff that you can work with, let's just leave this alone. Instead, we can play with sine of 2 alpha since that just has one form, 2 sine alpha cosine alpha. So right here, we can write sine of 2 alpha as 2 sine alpha cosine alpha, but you still have here cosine alpha, so let's write that one. Then plus cosine 2 alpha sine alpha all over sine alpha minus, so let's retain cosine 2 alpha cosine alpha minus sine 2 alpha will just be 2 sine alpha cosine alpha times sine alpha all over cosine alpha. Now let's take a better look with what we have. As you can see right here, these two terms have a common factor, which is sine alpha. And similarly, for this one, they have a common factor, which is cosine alpha. So let's factor out that common factor. For the first fraction, we have sine alpha. And what's left inside, if we remove 1 sine alpha, we have 2 times cosine alpha times cosine alpha. That's just 2 cosine squared alpha. Then plus, here if you remove the sine alpha, you're left with cosine 2 alpha. So plus cosine 2 alpha, and in the denominator you have sine alpha. Then minus, for the second fraction, we factor out cosine alpha. What's left in the first term is cosine 2 alpha. Then minus if you remove the cosine alpha here, you have 2 sine squared alpha. So minus 2 sine squared alpha all over cosine alpha. Then from here, we can cancel out sine alpha and cosine alpha. We have 2 cosine squared alpha plus cosine 2 alpha minus the quantity cosine 2 alpha minus 2 sine squared alpha, which by distributing the negative sign in these two terms right here, we'll get 2 cos squared alpha plus cosine 2 alpha minus cosine 2 alpha plus 2 sine squared alpha equals, so as you can see, you have a plus cosine 2 alpha minus cosine 2 alpha that just cancels out. What's left is 2 cosine squared alpha plus 2 sine squared alpha. And as you can see, they have a common factor of 2. So factoring out 2, we have 2 times cosine squared alpha plus sine squared alpha, with this one right here being your Pythagorean identity. This one is just equal to 1. So finally, you have equals 2. Okay? So it's quite long, but I think it's still manageable. So as a tip, if you see 3 alpha, 4 alpha, so on and so forth inside, you can make use of decomposition. So you can write it as 2 alpha plus alpha, or for the case of even multiples of alpha, for example, if you have 6 alpha, you can write it as 2 times 3 alpha, and here you can use double angle identities. But if you have odd multiples of alpha, so for example 5 alpha, it will be useful to decompose this one into 3 alpha plus 2 alpha. Okay, so your goal is to have an even multiple and an odd multiple. Okay, so let's proceed to the next set of examples. Number 2, let's try and evaluate the following. Number 1, evaluate sine of 15 degrees. So this one doesn't have a special value. If you will recall, the angles with special value are 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. So how do we evaluate this one? Observe that 15 degrees equals 60 degrees minus 45 degrees. And these two angles right here have special values. So we can make use of the identities that we know. Sine 15 degrees is just sine of 60 degrees minus 45 degrees. And here you have a difference of 2 angles. So we will use the difference identity for sine. That's just sin sine 60 cosine 45 minus cosine 60 sine of 45. Then simplifying, we have sine of 60 degrees. Sine of 60 degrees, that's just the same as sine of pi over 3, which is square root of 3 over 2. So you have here square root of 3 over 2 Then cosine of 45 degrees, that's square root of 2 over 2, minus cosine of 60 degrees, that's 1/2, and sine of 45 degrees is square root of 2 over 2. Then finally, simplifying, we have square root of 6 over 4 minus square root of 2 over 4, which is just square root of 6 minus square root of 2 over 4. Okay? So, for evaluating, you just need to have an instinct of what identity you can exploit and what special values you can exploit. So, tip here, familiarize yourself with trig identities and special values. Okay? Now let's proceed to number 2. This one right here. Let's find sine of 2 alpha, cosine of 2 alpha, and tangent of 2 alpha given sine of alpha equals 5 over 13 and alpha in the interval 0 to pi over 2. So what do we need to find these three right here? Clearly, we need to use double angle identities. So we will use these identities right here. And what do we see in all of these identities? We need the values of sine of x, cosine x, and tangent x. Or in our case, we need sine alpha, cosine alpha, and tangent alpha. So first, let's look for cosine alpha. So how do we do that? We know that cosine squared alpha plus sine squared alpha equals 1. So plugging in our sine alpha here, we have cosine squared alpha plus 5 over 13 squared equals 1, giving us cosine squared alpha equals 1 minus this one right here. This is just 5 squared, which is 25, over 13 squared, which is 169. Then further simplifying, take note, 1 minus 25 over 169 equals 169 in the denominator, then 169 times 1, that's 169, minus 25, we get 144 over 169. So cosine squared alpha equals 144 over 169. And finally, cosine alpha equals plus minus square root of 144 over 169. How do we obtain again the square root of fractions? We can just obtain the square root of the numerator, then divide it by the square root of the denominator. So square root of the numerator is 12, so you have plus minus 12 all over the square root of 169 equals 13. The question now is what to use. Are we going to use the plus or the minus? So take note, alpha is in the interval 0 to pi over 2. So your alpha is from 0 to pi over 2. So that means we are looking at the first quadrant. And in the first quadrant, both of your sine and cosine functions are positive. So we're taking 12 over 13 since P of alpha is in quadrant 1. So now that you have your cosine and your sine, we can already find the three values that we are looking for. First is sine of 2 alpha. This is just 2 sine alpha, cosine alpha by our identities. So plugging the values for sine and cosine, we have 2 times sine alpha, that's 5 over 13. Cosine alpha, that's 12 over 13. So we have in the numerator 2 times 5, that's 10, times 12, we have 120. Then for the denominator, we have 13 times 13, that's 169. The next, cosine 2 alpha, we can use any of the three forms right here. I guess I'll just use the first one. So we have here cosine squared alpha minus sine squared alpha. So that's cosine alpha, that's 12 over 13 squared, minus sine alpha is 5 over 13. 5 over 13 squared. So we have, squaring this, we have 144 over 169 minus 25 over 169. This gives us 119 over 169. Then finally, your tangent of 2 alpha, we can make use of this identity right here, or we can just use the ratio identity. So take note, tangent of 2 alpha is just sine of 2 alpha over cosine of 2 alpha. So we have 120 over 169 divided by 119 over 169, which is just the same as 120 over 169 times the reciprocal of the one in the denominator, 169 over 119, finally giving us 120 over 119. So the bottom line here is, if you want to look for the value of the the circular function values of double angles, first you need your sine alpha and your cosine alpha. Then after that, you can just use the identities to find sine of 2 alpha, cosine of 2 alpha, and tangent of 2 alpha. Last example for today. This one is a little bit difficult. Let's find the value of 1 plus tangent alpha times 1 plus tangent beta, where alpha plus beta equals pi over 4. For this one, I suggest that you pause the video and try to check what will happen here. So let's do this now. First, let's try and check how we can simplify 1 plus tangent alpha times 1 plus tangent beta. So maybe we can expand this one. So how do we multiply binomials? We just distribute the first term here and distribute the second term like that. So we have first 1 times 1, that's 1, plus 1 times tangent beta, that's just tangent beta, then plus tangent alpha times 1, that's tangent alpha, then distribute this, we have tangent alpha times tangent beta. Then what else can we do This is quite a weird trick, but this one right here can be written as 2 minus 1. So this one is one of some dirty tricks that we can do. So we can write that as 2 minus 1 times tangent beta plus tangent alpha plus tangent alpha times tangent beta. Then from here, maybe we can group some terms. Maybe we can group -1 and tangent alpha tangent beta. So we have here -1 plus tangent alpha tangent beta. The next, maybe we can group these two right here. So plus tangent alpha plus tangent beta. Then outside, we retain 2. So why did I do that? Observe, you are given a condition alpha plus beta equals pi over 4. So, since you have a condition on the sum of two angles, you want to use this identity in some manner. So, you have tangent of alpha plus beta equals tangent of alpha plus tangent of beta all over 1 minus tangent alpha tangent beta. And based on our groupings that we did, we already have the one in the numerator. And the one in the denominator is similar to this one. In fact, you can extract -1 here so that you'll get 1 minus tangent alpha tangent beta then plus tangent alpha plus tangent beta plus 2. So right now you might be asking how can we use this one right here. So observe that tangent of alpha plus beta equals tangent of alpha plus tangent of beta all over 1 minus tangent alpha tangent beta. But what's alpha plus beta again? Alpha plus beta is tangent of pi over 4. And tangent of pi over 4 is a special value, and in particular, that's just equal to 1. So basically, we're saying that 1 equals tangent alpha plus tangent beta all over 1 minus tangent alpha tangent beta. Then further simplifying, we can multiply both sides by the denominator to get right here 1 minus tangent alpha tangent beta equals tangent alpha plus tangent beta. Then putting this one to the other side, we get 0 equals, this would be the negative of 1 minus tangent alpha tangent beta plus tangent alpha plus tangent beta. And what's this one right here? This one is exactly this one. So let's call this equation star and this equation as square. So plugging square, to star, we get 1 plus tangent alpha times 1 plus tangent beta equals, this one right here will just be 0. Then you have your plus 2 right here, plus 2 equals 2. And that's the end for this discussion video. I hope you get the hang of using sum and difference identities, double angle identities, and co-function identities. In the next video, we will discuss the last set of identities that we need, which is the half angle identities. I promise that the last video will be shorter since we have fewer examples for that one. So thank you everyone, and see you hopefully face to face once it's a little bit colder. So thank you everyone.